So now AI is here. How do you define the moment that we're in right now? Is it a reinvention of search? Is it the third renaissance of search?
Callback. Um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an evolution of search. It is a reinvention to some degree because the modalities are changing, right? Like it's more about talking to things. Google has always said they want to build the Star Trek computer. It's basically here now, you know what I mean? And they're pushing people more towards using it in their environment rather than going to the device to use it. See what I'm saying? Like they want it to be kind of like an ambient thing that's always available to you. And with AI, you have more capabilities around that. Like previously, there was like broad personalization. Now we're in a space where you can get a one-to-one answer based on your context and the relationship that the system has with you over time. So yeah, it's an inherently different version of search that's just going to continue to evolve.
Did this come sooner than you expected, later than you expected, or were you not surprised?
I'm not surprised. I think, all the GPT stuff, it had been bubbling for years before we got to ChatGPT, right? Like we were using GPT-2 on clients back in 2020. GPT-3 was available shortly thereafter, right? Like you could use tools like, what was it, like Chat AI, or I can't remember what it was. It's not as popping right now though. But there's been tools to support this for a while. So it's not shocking. And it also doesn't shock me like how Google is moving, and that once the idea was validated that people will use this, even though you've got hallucinations and things like that, that they're all in on it. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I've just been pretty dialed in the whole time.
Is there one thing that has surprised you about all of the AI tools and AI engines so far?
No, what surprised me is that Google is fine with eroding the trust that they've built over 25 years. Like historically, you do a search and whatever comes back, you're like, oh yeah, I trust this. Google isn't interpreting the information, it's just giving me the information on the web. Now they're fine with like interpreting something wrong and then giving that as an answer just to be competitive. That's very shocking to me.
Yeah, I thought you had some very fair feedback towards Google, whereas like SEO community has pushed for like all their clients to do everything that Google has wanted over the years.
Yeah.
And then, what do we get back?
Yeah, and at Google I/O this year, I actually like took them to task on that. I was like, you've basically been having us be your janitors of the web for the last 25 years, and what do we get out of that? Like literally, we're at Google I/O where they have us in this back room, and they just give us like soda and chips. Whereas for developers, they're putting on this like multi-million-dollar, experience to get them to continue to use their stuff. But for us, they've effectively done social engineering on us to like have us do their dirty work. So like with the secure protocol, they had us, you know, they dangled the carrot that if you go secure, you will get a rankings boost. They did the same thing with structured data. They did the same thing with, Google core web vitals. And we rushed to get our clients to do all that stuff. And because everyone did it at once, there is no actual impact from it. So we just do things that make it so their search engine works better for what?
On the other hand, you also mentioned that SEO is historically not good at being strategic. We need to be engineering, not so much as just optimizing. What mindset shift do you think
Mm-hmm.
SEO professionals need to make to think more like an engineer instead of a marketer? Is it part of your open source innovation conversation?
What I'm calling what we need to evolve to is relevance engineering. And I don't think you need to like not think about marketing. I think you just need to understand how things actually work. So if you're a good SEO, you're really just like a power user of Google. You know what I mean? Like things like site colon searches. You know how to, put together rules for a HT access file. It doesn't mean you know how Google works. And where we're at, they're building it in front of us. Like everything that they are using is available to you. So when they first announced SGE, which became AI overviews, I was like, I need to know how this works because, it wasn't available. You couldn't play with it yet. And so I did a bunch of digging into um, the techniques that are used, so retrieval augmented generation. And I built a proof of concept for how SGE worked before it came out. And it allowed me to really understand like what you need to do. There's the whole like chunking and, it's all based on semantic relevance and so on. So once that came out, we already knew how to function in this environment, whereas everybody was running around like, what do we do? What do we do? And so that's what I mean. Because I was able to take concepts that are used to build these things, replicate them, and then look at how the sausage is made, I knew what you need to do in order to get visibility in this environment. Most of the SEO community just kind of sits around and waits for someone to say what to do. If you want to actually have advantages, you need to figure out what to do.
So why do you think that hasn't gained traction yet?
So I think when you go back to how SEO evolved, you had a bunch of people that were actively experimenting and then sharing those experiments. And I think it's also a function of the fact that SEO evolved out of the webmaster community. So it was already people that were inherently technical. But once SEO became its own industry, there's no one path to become an SEO. Like you don't go to school to become an SEO. Like no one was like, I want to be an SEO when I grow up. So you end up with varying skill sets, and there's no like criteria that we've agreed to that these are the things you need to know to be an SEO. So you can be a content SEO, you can be a local SEO, you can be all these subsets. And even if you go to like 10 people that are like, I'm a content SEO, they all do very different things. Like they all would describe their role differently. And the same is true of like a technical SEO, Python SEO, so on and so forth. And so what I would love to see happen is that we go back to that experimentation mindset of people sharing their insights. And there's a few, there's people like me, there's people like Dan Petrovic, people like J.R. Oaks. There's a good list of folks that are actively doing things, but it's not common. It's not what everyone does in this space. And with things moving so fast, it's the only way that we can know what to do.
Do you think it's likely that Google would just switch over to only AI overviews and not have the traditional blue links like anymore? And what new KPIs should businesses measure? What's the best way to communicate value to clients in a low-click world?
I think if Google can figure out ads, anything is on the table. Like if the ads work in an AIO or AI mode only experience, 10 blue links will go all the way away. What do they care? You know what I mean? Like their goal is to make the world's information accessible. And they also feel that the cognitive costs of having to review 10 blue links and, come up with the Orwellian newspeak version of your query and whatever, and then having to read through things and then reformulate your query, like it takes too long. It's too much for people. So they want to get you to your answer or your action as soon as possible. Now, as far as the measurement of it, the way I think of it is you need to stratify your measurement into 3 different buckets. There's performance measurement, there's channel metrics, and then there's also input metrics. The performance metrics are the same as they've always been. Like how much traffic comes to your site, what does it do? Does it convert? Things like that. The channel metrics are going to be things like share of voice, citation rate, citation sentiment. How do you show up in these channels? And then the input metrics are the things that you can actually change. So how do you rank for the synthetic queries that are being used in Query Fanout? What's the bot activity to your pages? Because they're going to be requesting them in real time. And then what's your passage relevance scores for the passages in your content? So the value to the business is going to be in the channel and the performance metrics. channel metrics because that's where the brand opportunities are. Like one of the main things here is that these chat services operate more like branding channels than performance channels. So you're really thinking about like how often am I being seen in these responses, and assuming that that's going to change how people think about your products and services. And then the performance stuff is, again, what it's always been. Like, what do people do once they click through, if they click through?
What's your opinion on Reddit being like one of the top cited sources in some of these AI engines, as far as like it feels like it's going against some of the policies?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing for the internet. Reddit is, like, there's moderators on Reddit, but there's so much stuff out there that is reflective of the worst part of humanity. And also, I mean, I think that's fundamentally true of the language models themselves because they are trained on Reddit heavily as well. Yes, the whole idea of it going against EEAT makes sense as well, but Google is looking for like real experiences from people, and you're more likely to get that from Reddit. So I get why people use it. And a lot of people were appending Reddit to their queries anyway. So it's a reaction to user behavior. But I don't think it's a good thing. I also don't think generative AI is super great in search, because there is value to someone doing their own research, not having the machine interpret the information. Because if you review something that has multiple viewpoints, you have to draw the conclusion yourself. But if the machine is drawing the conclusion, you never get the opportunity to do it. And I feel like it's setting us up for another one of those like Cambridge Analytica things where the web is flooded with viewpoints that are biased by the machine. And then that being the input that we take about what we think shapes how we think about things.
What's the next prediction or even controversial belief that you hold about where AI search is headed in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what is happening now is not going to make it to then. And what I mean by that is like a lot of these software companies aren't going to be able to keep up. A lot of these people that were living off of affiliate revenue are not going to continue to exist. The publishers are going to have a lot of difficulty right now. And they're either going to have to like figure out a new way to monetize or change their ad agreements or whatever so that they're making more money with less clicks and impressions. But yeah, I think the web as we know it, like the Google-shaped web, is going to change. And when I say Google-shaped, like so much content exists the way that it does because of Google. Like you do things in a certain way in hopes that you will drive search traffic. And with how referral traffic works changing, it's just going to change what everyone is doing. And a lot of these sites are just not going to be around in 3 to 5 years. Also, a lot of these SEOs aren't going to make it through either because they just can't evolve quick enough.